Hi, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use the ordinary vitamin C suspension 23% plus hyaluronic acid in spheres 2%. And so at first I would like to go over some general information, such as what it is, what it can do for you, for whom it is suitable, and when you should use it. Then I want to lead into the conflicts and my example skincare routines, and then I want to show you the entire application on my face. And lastly, I have prepared for you a mixing guide as well. So you will find the timestamps below. However, if you're completely new to the vitamin C suspension, I highly recommend watching the entire video. So first of all, the vitamin C suspension contains 23% of ascorbic acid, which is the pure form of vitamin C. And this can help you to reduce dullness, surface hyperpigmentation, and already existing fine lines and wrinkles. Then it also contains the 2% of hyaluronic acid in spheres, which is basically hyaluronic acid in like kind of little balls in a drier form. And when it comes in contact with water, it starts to absorb the water, and this can help you to plump the skin and smoothen the skin. And so you can use the vitamin C suspension on all skin types since it targets those specific skin concerns. However, if you have used it and you experience stinging and burning, it may be too potent for you. And there you can go ahead and mix it with a moisturizer to dilute it, which is what I want to share with you at the end of the video. Or you may do not tolerate it at all, and then it may be best to just look into a vitamin C derivative, such as the ordinary ascorbyl glucoside solution. Now, when is it best to use the vitamin C suspension? Well, the ordinary recommends it is preferred to use it in your evening skincare routine. Primarily because it may layer weirdly when using it just underneath your sunscreen, and you may come across issues that it may start to oxidize on the skin surface because there's still so much residue on the skin surface from the vitamin C suspension as it couldn't fully penetrate into the skin, or you may have not properly applied your sunscreen all over, and then you can end up, based on the comments that I get, ending up with dark patches that are kind of like uneven patches due to the vitamin C that has oxidized on the skin. So therefore, if you can, just add it to your evening skincare routine, and this is where I want to keep my focus on as well. So when it comes to the conflicts as well as how you can set up a skincare routine, then I have prepared them in categories. So I have the conflicts, like the real conflicts, where if you would use those combinations together, you can lose the benefits of one or the other. Then I have conflicts that I do not recommend based on it can maybe lead to a damaging skin barrier. And then I have conflicts where I would say I recommend being careful. You can use them together, but maybe not the best if you're completely new to the product and depending on your skin tolerance. So there are certain categories on how we can go through it to set up your skincare routine. So let's get started with the real conflicts. So this would be, first of all, the ordinary peptides. Please do not use the ordinary peptides in the same routine when using the vitamin C suspension. Use your peptide in the morning, your vitamin C suspension in the evening, and then there you go. Same applies with niacinamide, keep them separate. You can use them on the same day, just not in the same routine. And then lastly, you have EUK. So please do not use the ordinary antioxidant EUK in the same routine when using your vitamin C suspension. The other antioxidants like resveratrol and ferulic acid and pycnogenol are fine, but with EUK you really have to keep this in mind that it's going to conflict with the vitamin C suspension. So when it comes to what can potentially lead to a damaging skin barrier based on how potent a combination can be, or let's say how aggressive it may be, and this would be first of all exfoliating acid masks. So please do not use the ordinary exfoliating acid mask or similar strength of exfoliating acid mask from different brands before you're going to apply the vitamin C suspension. So when planning on using the exfoliating acid mask, skip your vitamin C suspension that evening, but then you can go ahead and continue with the rest on the other days. And the other one would be retinol or retinoids. So I recommend going with them separately, like use them in separate routines. Basically create 2 evening routines and then use your vitamin C suspension on Monday, your retinol or retinoid on Tuesday, again the vitamin C suspension on Wednesday, so that you still can get the benefits of both, but you're not going to use them in the same routine since both should be used in the evening. And so then there you have those specific conflicts. And the last category would be mainly exfoliating acid cleansers that have a low pH and a certain percentage of exfoliating acids, because this may not be a combination that everyone can tolerate. If your skin tolerates it, go ahead, there's nothing wrong with it, but it can potentially really lead to stinging and burning, like more so. And so therefore I recommend being careful with such a combination. The same would apply when looking into exfoliating acids that are leave-on products, such as toners, liquids, or even serums. Please do not use them in the same routine, especially when being new to those products. Keep them separate, see how your skin can tolerate them on their own before you're thinking of using them in the same routine. And so there you have the category of the conflicts in general, but now I want to get started with my example skincare routines, primarily keeping the focus on the evening, but I still have an example for you as what a morning routine can look like as well. But to understand this a bit further, we need to understand the ordinary order of application. Specifically, if you're using more than one ordinary product, this is really important. So based on their formulations, they say start off with water-based serums. Then move on to the anhydrous solutions, then an oil, and then your moisturizer, which is basically the cream, and then lastly the suspension. So this would be just keeping the focus on the ordinary products itself. So please keep this in mind. And based on that, I have set up the routine as well. So we're going to get started with the evening skincare routine. You can see on the top corner, time of use. In the middle, what cleansing method, specifically for the evening. Then you can see the steps. You can see the products and categories, what layering would be, and underneath the general guide. So you're starting off with your cleansing step. Make sure to choose a cleanser that's suitable for your skin type. Wash your face, rinse it off, pat the skin dry. Then if you like to, you can include a water-based serum. Here you can see some examples. Just make sure that you're choosing one that specifically targets your skin concern. Then apply to the skin, leave it on the skin, there's no need to wash it off. Then if you like to, another optional step would be including an anhydrous solution. And when looking into the ordinary products, this will be primarily their antioxidant serum that you can combine with the vitamin C suspension, and it's going to be a nice combination as well. So again, this can be resveratrol and ferulic acid or pycnogenol. Please do not combine it with EUK. Then apply your antioxidant serum to the skin, leave it on the skin, there's no need to wash it off. Then after that, you can move on to a moisturizer. Apply to the skin, leave it on the skin, and then follow on with a suspension. Apply to the skin, leave it on the skin. Now, if you should have a moisturizer that's quite rich, usually for dry to very dry skin types, they contain like fatty substances such as petrolatum, or you may just use a petrolatum jelly. In that specific case, you need to reconsider the order of application. And then you may want to use the vitamin C suspension at first and then follow on with your heavy moisturizer. However, with light moisturizers, just use them beforehand. And so there you have an example of an evening skincare routine. Now, if you now say, well, I have stubborn sunscreen and or makeup on, like for example, the ordinary sunscreen, that one is a physical sunscreen, and you usually cannot get it off with your regular cleanser, I highly recommend changing your cleansing method and doing a double cleanse. This can be like basically micellar water or an oil or balm cleanser as your first cleansing step, and then follow on with your regular cleanser afterwards to make sure that you can properly take it off before you're going to continue with the rest of your skincare routine. And so there you have some examples on how you can adjust it and what you can include. When it comes to a morning skincare routine, it can be adjustable depending on your skin type and your skin needs, what you want to include. But the main focus in your morning skincare routine should be cleansing your face so that you can properly take off any residue from the night before, any excess oil and sweat from the skin, and your sunscreen during daytime before sun exposure to protect the skin from the damaging UV rays, especially if you're trying to target your hyperpigmentation and even fine lines and wrinkles. You do not want to make it worse. And so that there you have an example of a morning skincare routine. So if you find those conflicts and example PowerPoint slides helpful, you can go ahead and check out the description box. There you will find a link where you can click on it, and then you can go over the PowerPoint slides again in your own time, and you can even download them and save them to your device if you find them helpful. But now I want to keep my focus on the entire application, and I have the setup right here. So again, I'm going to get started with the layering using one product after another, and then later on at the end of the video I'm going to show you the mixing guide. product. So we are going to get started with the cleansing step. This can be again a cleanser for normal to dry skin or even combination to oily skin. Make sure to pick the right one. And I'm going to go with a gentle cleanser because I want to make sure that everyone can follow this skincare routine. And so go ahead, grab your cleanser. I'm going to use Cetaphil's Daily Facial Cleanser. If you have a different one, exchange it, that's completely fine. Just make sure to read on the back of the packaging on how you should use it. Most cleansers need to be applied to wet skin and then you can rinse it off with water. The same thing happens with Cetaphil's cleanser, so I'm going to get started with applying it to wet skin. Use always lukewarm water to warm water so it feels comfortable when applying it to the skin and even later on taking it off. You can wash your face above the sink or in the shower, either way is fine, just make sure to properly take it off the skin. So I'm going to wet the skin, then I'm going to use about 1 to 2 pumps of the cleanser, which should be more or less about a coin size amount. Massage it between my hands and then I'm going to gently massage it over my face and neck for about 30 seconds to a minute. Please make sure to not get it into your eyes nor into your mouth. If that's the case, rinse it with water. Then I'm going to rinse most of it off with my hands, and in between I always like to work with a clean washcloth. This can be those makeup cloths or microfiber cloths, and they really can help you to effectively take off the cleanser and even sunscreen and makeup from the skin before you're going to pat the skin dry. So let's go ahead and do this. So now go ahead and take a clean towel and remove the water drops from the skin surface so that you won't come across any layering issues when using your skincare products on top. And you can do this by gently patting it off the skin. Now once you're done with your cleansing step, you can immediately move on to the next step. Of course, if you want to use the vitamin C suspension on its own, it's completely fine to do so. Now would be the time to apply to the skin, and then there you have it. However, I want to include additional points as well so that you can see the entire layering guide. So if you say, well, my skin is able to tolerate my leave-on exfoliating acid products while I'm using the vitamin C suspension in the same routine, well then go ahead and include it. If your leave-on exfoliating acid product is a water-based product, you're going to use it immediately after your cleansing step. And so here you can see some examples. Just make sure that you're going to choose the right one for your specific skin type and needs. So an AHA is, for example, great if you have a non-sensitive skin, you have dry skin and maybe sun damaged skin, then go ahead and look for an AHA. This can be glycolic or lactic acid. Or if you have a bit more of a sensitive skin type, you may have oily skin or acne prone skin, then look into a salicylic acid product. And then apply to the skin, leave it on the skin, there's no need to wash it off. Now I'm not going to apply it to the skin because I want to keep it as beginner friendly as possible with the products that I'm going to use so that you can reduce the risk of experiencing sensitivity. But if you can tolerate it, go ahead and just include it. After that, you then can move on to other water-based soaps that you may want to apply. And I have some examples right here. Just make sure that you're making sure that they're targeting your skin concern. So example, if you have dark circles, you can look into the caffeine solution. Use about 1 to 2 drops and apply it on the eye contour. Please do not get it into your eyes, nor use it on top of your eyelids. Or you may just want to look into alpha-butane because of your hyperpigmentation and you want to combine it with the vitamin C suspension. That's completely fine. Use between 2 to 3 drops, apply it over your face and neck, and then there you have it. Or if you just want to add hydration to the skin, then you can go with one example, the Ordinary Marine Hyaluronics. Use between 5 to 8 drops. That one has a very water-like texture, and then evenly apply it over your face and neck. Again, with any skincare product, please make sure to not get it into your eyes nor into your mouth. If that's the case, rinse it with water. And so in this example, I'm going to use the Ordinary Marine Hyaluronics to add hydration to the skin. When it comes to how you can apply it to the skin, you can either dispense the product on the palm of your hand, fingertips, or immediately to the face, and then start gently blending it all over. So once you have applied it to the skin, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Now, if you like to, you can move on to the next step. So if you want to include an anhydrous solution, so one of the Ordinary antioxidant serums, you can go ahead and do so. But make sure that in between the steps that your skin is able to absorb the product. So give it about 30 seconds to a minute in between if you should feel the need. If it absorbs much faster, well, then you can immediately move on to the next step. There's no waiting time needed. So I have two examples right here. So again, please keep in mind you can use the resveratrol and ferulic acid or pycnogenol as an antioxidant serum to include in your skincare routine, and you would use it after your water-based serums. And so I'm going to go with the Ordinary resveratrol and ferulic acid. So if you are going to use that one or pycnogenol, you can go ahead and use about 3 to 5 drops. Start off with 3 drops, see how this goes. If that shouldn't be enough, you can add a couple of drops more to it, but I wouldn't use more than that, otherwise it can become quite greasy or maybe feel weird on the skin, and it may not properly absorb into the skin. So then you have a layering issue maybe later on. Now, if you're using an antioxidant serum such as the one I've used or pycnogenol, and you may come across a heat, like a warm feeling, then don't worry about it. This is normal. Just give your skin some time to adjust to it and it should get better. So once you've applied it to the skin, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. So now the next step can be a moisturizer if you should feel the need of adding one. If you do not feel the need, it's fine to just skip this step and immediately move on to the vitamin C suspension. But I do want to remind you again, if you have a lightweight moisturizer, use it before applying the vitamin C suspension. If you have a heavier rich type moisturizer, use it after the suspension. So there again, you need to adjust the order of application. Now I'm going to use the Ordinary Natural Moisturizing Factors, and with this one you should use it beforehand. And then go ahead and use about a bean size amount and apply it evenly over your face and neck. So once you have applied it all over your face and neck, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And now if you have used a lightweight moisturizer, you're going to follow on with the vitamin C suspension. Now I would like to give you a guide for this one as well, but it's kind of difficult to measure because the vitamin C suspension is quite runny. So I would say go with about a pea-sized amount. You do not need a lot of product. It is a quite potent formulation. It contains 23% of vitamin C. So do not overdo it, because if you're going to use more than that, it can lead to sensitivity because your skin is just too overwhelmed with how much product you have used, and it may feel very uncomfortable on the skin as well. So therefore just use a tiny amount, but still enough so that you can evenly and thinly blend it all over. And that one has a bit of grittiness in it, which you can feel in the beginning, but once you start blending it over your face and neck, it should go away. Now with the vitamin C suspension, as this is now my main focus, please please do not use it on top of your eyelids. Please do not get it too close to the actual lower lash line. And depending on your eye contour sensitivity, you may want to avoid the eye contour. It does not have to be avoided, but I do want to emphasize it because more sensitive areas are more prone to like stinging and burning, and especially when you're working with such a potent formulation. With about that much more or less, it is really difficult to measure because it is so runny, and then start blending it all over. So, and once you have blended it all over, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And so then there you have an example of an evening skincare routine when layering it with other products. But of course, I want to remind you, it is completely fine to just keep the routine very simple and use the vitamin C suspension on its own or just along with your moisturizer. Now I want to get into the mixing guide, since if you feel like, well, I cannot use the vitamin C suspension on its own, it's quite potent, it leads to a bit of stinging and burning. However, I think that if I could dilute it with my moisturizer, I would tolerate it much better. And yes, that's completely fine to do. You can dilute it with your moisturizer so that you can get your skin adjusted to the vitamin C product that you're using. And so then you can go ahead and take your favorite moisturizer. Please be aware of the conflicts again, I do want to remind you. And so the best one, in my opinion, would be the Ordinary Natural Moisturizing Factors, because it is so simple and it can be mixed with anything. There aren't any conflicts. And so you can use that one to dilute your vitamin C suspension. Use about more or less, maybe a bit less than a bean size amount of your moisturizer, and then a tiny bit of the vitamin C suspension. You do not want to use a bean size amount and a bean size amount, because if you're going to mix this, not only does it may not just properly dilute the product because you're trying to reduce it as much as possible, but at the same time you may end up with too much product for your face and neck, and then you have too much left on the skin rather than just evenly and thinly blending it all over. And so when doing so, go ahead, use a bit of your moisturizer on the palm of your hand. About that much, more or less. This can of course be adjusted, but I want to share with you the tips that I've tried myself so it feels comfortable on the skin and that you're not going to overuse the product. And then a tiny amount of the vitamin C suspension, just like a dot basically, kind of like that. And then start blending it in the palm of your hand. And once you have nicely mixed it in the palm of your hand, like so, just rub your hands together and then gently blend it all over your face and neck. But of course, please don't forget to just use the vitamin C suspension once. Either use it on its own or mix it with your moisturizer so that you're not going to use it twice, because you just need to apply it once in your skincare routine. So this would be then a general guide on how you can dilute it if you try to reduce the strength of it, or you may just want to reduce the grittiness. This can work well with the moisturizer too, so that you do not come across the grittiness that you have already blended in the palm of your hand and then smoothly applied all over. Another example would be a more potent combination, and this can be with your antioxidant serum and an oil. And so the best would be using all three together. So you use the vitamin C suspension, your oil, and one of the antioxidant serum, or just your antioxidant serum and vitamin C suspension. So go ahead and customize it depending on your needs. This way you're going to create a more potent formulation, or let's say complex, because it's going to support the vitamin C. So what you can do is go ahead and take a bit of your vitamin C suspension. Again, just like a dot, more or less. And then if you just want to mix it with your antioxidant serum, go with 1 drop of your antioxidant serum, blend, like mix it in the palm of your hand and then apply it to the skin. Or you can mix it with 1 drop of your antioxidant serum and oil. So please do not use the oil alone. So I have my oil right here. I'm using currently rosehip seed oil. I'm going to add 1 drop. And then another drop of resveratrol and ferulic acid. And then once you have all three together, or just your antioxidant and a vitamin C suspension in the palm of your hand, then start mixing it. And then again, once you have mixed it in the palm of your hand, you're going to rub your hands together and then again gently blend it all over your face and neck. So then you would do this and then gently apply it all over. And this is how you can create a more potent formulation with the vitamin C suspension. Now, when doing the mixture, again, either use the vitamin C suspension alone or layer it along with other skincare products as I've just demonstrated, or do the mixing. So again, I want to remind you, do not apply the vitamin C suspension twice, either on its own or mixing it, and then there you have it. And this is how you can adjust it depending on your overall needs and what you want to create based on the skin concerns that you may have and what your skin can tolerate. And so once you're done with the application, with the entire evening skincare routine, there you have it. This is how you can include the vitamin C suspension in your skincare routine. And I do hope that you enjoyed this video, that you find it helpful. If you did so, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up as well as share it. And if you now want to learn more about skincare, I'm going to leave some of the videos at the end of this video, but you will find more of them on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in the next one. Happy skincaring! Bye!